Okay, good evening. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. Tonight I am speaking to, so this is Diary of a Scentsy Consultant. I don't know what week I'm on now, and I'm going to stop saying this is week so-and-so because I'll just forget. So thank you for joining us this evening, my love. So this evening I am going to be talking to, I'm super excited about this one. I am going to be talking to the wonderful Boon, who is a star director. I'm not going to give too much away like on your intro, because obviously that will get rid of the whole point of this evening and I'll just end up running away with it. But I think the last time we were probably together was I had a very small child on my hip, didn't I, in Amsterdam?
Properly together, yeah.
Yeah.
That was the last proper time that we spent.
That is just bonkers.
Very little.
Like, said child is now 4 and like crazy. So I am gonna stop the introduction there because I do have a tendency to go off on a bit of a tangent. So just thank you so much for being here with us this evening. And without further ado, let's dive right into it. Obviously, like I said, I've got questions, but if it goes off on a bit of a tangent, it's all good. So firstly, before we dive into Scentsy, so tell us a little bit about you, the person, like your family, your children, like your home, like what does life for Faye look like?
Life is busy, so we're empty nesters. It comes, I promise it happens, they leave, it's great. So I was blessed with one daughter who's currently studying, and three stepchildren who make our house a home on a regular basis, which is lovely because they're here by choice, and then I can boot them out. Yeah, live in Suffolk and have been here for 12 years now, so if my accent feels a bit out of whack, then that's why. I left Glasgow in 1995 when I was 17. You do the maths, I know I don't look older.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, that's us in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, amazing. So when did you join Scentsy?
I joined Scentsy in 2014. So this will be my 9th year in business. The landscape was very different back then, and I'm so grateful for every twist and turn and every trial and every challenge and every triumph that's come along ever since. I used to be a bit of a serial quitter. I used to tantrum at least twice a week. That was like my personality trait. And through a lot of observing the business and observing the model and observing the head office function, like just how well considered and looked after that we are, that it was kind of, I felt a bit dubious, if I'm really honest, at first. And then as time went on and this model just seemed to create more and more opportunity and make more and more right for me, I stuck around.
And you're here. And thank goodness that you did.
By the skin of my literal teeth.
Okay, so take us right back. So what jobs, career path? So from leaving school, college, take us right back to what you studied at college if you want to, but what does your career path look like, bringing you to being a Scentsy consultant and where you are today? So what jobs have you done previously?
I have done social care. I left home at 17. I moved to Taunton in Somerset for some reason. It seemed like a good idea at the time, and just never went back. So I worked with young single homeless people when I was 17. Safeguarding nightmare. I would never.
Wow.
And then I stuck around there for a little while. Then I moved to Worcester and I did a little bit more sort of one-to-one work with an incredible man with an acquired brain injury. And that was where I kind of started to find my own, really, looking at the brain and how it works and how it sometimes doesn't work. And there was a lot of kind of self-discovery through that. There was lots of really cruddy jobs in the meantime. I did debt recovery, I did meter reading organization, I did, what else did I do? My goodness. And then I got married, had a baby, dumped the husband, kept the baby, she was all right. And moved to Mansfield because, you know, who doesn't love a motorway services? Moved to Mansfield, I was there for a few years and started to work in the charity sector, which again started to kind of build a bit of a more robust picture around giving, really, and supporting people. And we worked mostly with schools in kind of areas of regeneration. So there was quite a lot of hardship that I witnessed that also humbled me quite a lot and kind of started, I mean, I was very, very young. I wasn't that young, who am I kidding? But that's kind of where I started to grow up and start to figure myself out as well, because I noticed that people were my thing. And that's what I enjoyed. And then after that, I moved to Suffolk for love. And a few jobs here, worked in a family law charity. And then I started at university about 10 years ago. So I work with the mental health and wellbeing service. That's what I was doing when I started Scentsy, and that's what I still do now.
Amazing. So that is your story. I just think it is so relevant, and one of the reasons that I wanted to kind of do this program was that to show like there's no like type of person that can be a Scentsy consultant. Like there's no, you have to have this experience or look like this or do this or be this person. Like we are totally all 100% not just embraced but celebrated for being individual. And I think whatever you've done in the past, like you can take something from it and apply it to your Scentsy business. So I think that's obviously really relevant there. Like you said, like you are such a people person, and obviously that obviously transfers over into your business as well. So you've obviously answered that question. So what were you doing for a living when you joined Scentsy? You're still doing that now. So you obviously this is like super personal, you don't have to share this, but for you, Scentsy is always going to be alongside. It's not that you have these great aspirations that you want to leave your job. It's Scentsy is, you obviously clearly love your job if you know.
I think because of the way that my brain works, variety is really important to me.
Yeah.
And my job is super stressful and really taxing. And Scentsy, so when I started Scentsy, it was at a point where my partner was quite unwell with his mental health, and I found myself kind of just standing over him quite a lot. Are you okay? Sure you're okay? Can I do anything? And I was just absorbing this illness, and it was making me feel quite unwell, and I was lonely, you know, and I was sort of literally henpecking him constantly, and I wanted something for myself. And I am posh, yeah. And I wanted something for myself. And the more that I made use of it, the more that I noticed that it brought some balance to my life. So I've got this really quite intense, quite responsible job, believe it or not. I've got quite a responsible job. Lots of really heavy, really taxing, really triggering conversations. And then I get the brain break to play with stuff that I love, to be with people that I love, to try and just bring a little bit of joy, even if that's a physical thing or an environmental change, like make your living room smell nice. It will proper change your mood, like I promise you it will. And I just have a great belief in the model. And I think that's something that for me, I learned. I tend to fall over quite a lot, and I go a bit underground quite a bit to start to sort of rebuild and fill my tank a little bit. And one of the most important things that really struck me watching, it was probably TikTok, I'm trying to sound intelligent, but it was probably TikTok, was there was an ADHD kind of coach mentor on there who spoke about your life being like channels, and instead of switching off, switch over. really resonated with me. This is my switch over. This is what brings me energy. And sometimes it is difficult, and sometimes it has its challenges. I've designed my life so that I'm fortunate that I have a full-time salary coming in. It's not my forever plan, but for now, that's my switch over. Scentsy is my brain space. That Scentsy is the thing that, and I do forget sometimes as well. And that's something that I have to work on. That's part of my personal development, that it's just stuff. And Scentsy doesn't have to be like part of your personality. You can pick it up, but you also can put it down, and it's sustainable enough for you to pick it back up again when you're ready. And sometimes that's harder than it sounds. It's quite an evangelical, like, oh, do what you want with it, but
it is so true. Like,
really you can.
Sorry, I was listening, but I actually thought my child was coming through the ceiling. Then he isn't, and there's no more cries after it, and Danny's up there, I do promise. But I was just a bit like, oh my god. But that is so important for people to remember, because, you know, as the Scentsy ethos says, you know, find joy in the journey, and whatever level or whatever, you know, how involved you want to be, because you are right, it is a choice. No two people's business is going to look the same. Nobody's life is the same. Nobody's commitments are the same. Nobody's goals are the same. You know, it is also personal, and you've totally nailed it there. It's that you've got to find your joy with doing it, because otherwise that's when it becomes a chore, and it should absolutely never be that way, because it just isn't. It's just wonderful, exactly like you said, whether it's with your customers or whether it's like connecting with your team or finding your people and spending time together. Like, it is just amazing. And I'm so happy that is how you see it, and that is how it does, you know, fit in with your job. Okay, amazing. So what is one of your biggest like wow moments in Scentsy? So obviously you've been here for quite a few years now. You would have been to events, you know, listened to trainings. Has there been like a moment when you've literally sat and thought, wow, like this is where I'm supposed to be with the people I'm supposed to be with?
Oh, don't make me cry. There are so many of those. Yeah, tears are not optional. They're just coming. There are so many of those. And I think it goes back to some of the challenges, and you know, I had like a degree in just moaning. Like, it was my favorite pastime for a while. If there was a little chink in the arm, or, you know, if there was, I was on it. I was like, oh, this is, you know, and it was just embarrassing, to be quite honest. And when I started a new sort of role within the university, it was again just a massive elevation in time and energy, and my business started to dwindle, and I kind of accepted it, like, you know, okay. But I had booked to go to Belfast, and you know, it's Belfast. It was gorgeous and everything was paid for. So I was like, okay, I'll just go along. But I was set to, I think that was in July that year, and I was set to cancel. And we had a lovely time. Lindsay cried buckets. That was hilarious. When she was awarded the Shining Star Award that year. And that was lovely to be there for that. Take photos of her snotty face.
Without her shoes on.
Without her shoes on.
Without her shoes on.
Yeah. And just a real fleeting, like, passing conversation. Becky Sattler was there that year, and Jackie Milner was stood talking, and we were like, oh yeah, chat, see you later. And it was literally like parting ways. It was the dying moments, you know, when nobody wants to leave and we're still just kind of like, oh. Yeah. And I was a star consultant at that point, and I said, just completely tongue-in-cheek, just trying to get out of the conversation, really, because I had no intention. There was no sustainability there for me. I'd kind of made the decision, and I said, oh, you know, something like, oh, give me a couple of years and I'll be doing the director walk. Till then, you know, see you. And Becky went, oh no, do it next year. Like, you've got this, this is happening. And I think for the first time, and I say that, I'll go back to that because my brain's fizzing. I think for the first time, I realised that actually someone else believed in me. Now, I'd heard those words several times from several people, but you know, when it's just not the right moment, like
Yeah.
things just, you know, and that's much the same for lots of the kind of development offers and people and themes that are out there. And I sort of went, I could, couldn't I? And I managed to do it. No, sorry, I was not active that month and I was cancelling in the August. And in October, I double promoted from star consultant to director because somebody told me that I could and I believed them.
Oh, I love that. From August to October.
Yeah, yeah, just foot down, eyes front, something that I'm not. I was always quite a cynical person and by nature, you know, there's been lots of troubles, lots of turmoil in my life, lots of people that can't really be trusted, and that kind of set in stone for me. So anything that I approached it in the same way. So when I was new and Lindsay turned herself inside out trying to tell me, like, you can do this, you have this, and I was like, yeah, thanks, and it just, for some reason, just wasn't landing with me. And then all of a sudden there was the real like crossroads where I'd made quite a confident decision with no kind of ill feeling or kind of, oh, it's because they don't make it easy for me and everybody else gets this. It was none of those conversations. It was simply like, oh, this feels like the end of the road. And then I was faced with this real tangible like opportunity. Look, no one's coming to save you. So if you want it, get it done or leave. And at that point, the prospect of leaving just felt so different, like I'm not going anywhere. And Lindsay was encouraging the team to like share their goals and tell them, you know, what we wanted. And I, hands up, right, I'm not a 2000 PRV kind of person. Like sometimes I claw my way to that 500, like, and still now, you know, selling isn't my strongest suite yet. And that's okay, because actually there are other benefits to the business that I gain from. So I was like, right, I'm doing 2000 PRV and I put a little director chair on with my name on it. And she was like, yeah, go for, like, let's do it. What do you need?
Oh, yeah.
And it was almost like a bit of a joke. And sometimes that's just how I defend myself from things that might be disappointing as well. So all of a sudden, you don't tell Lindsay McCallum anything. Like, you don't tell her anything. If you're going for something, you don't tell her, because she will be just like, let's go.
Well, P.S. you can thank Lindsay McCallum for you sitting here tonight.
Oh, I can imagine.
She was like, you need to stay, and I was like, yeah, I will.
She just messaged me and I told her I was in Tesco's about 2 minutes to 8. She nearly had an accident, I think. But yeah, there was just that moment where Lindsay was like, no, come on, you've said it now. And it, I don't know, I can't remember. It was all a bit of a blur, but it got done. And for someone like me to achieve something, like, I don't know, right? I haven't got any big, like, shiny pearls of wisdom to pass on to anybody. For me, it's sheer stubbornness, and it's seeing the opportunities, even though you might not be reaping the benefits at that point. I've always got hope. I've always have hope in this business. And sometimes that means that I know that I have to drop it for a while to keep myself well, because my job burns me out quite a lot. And my hope is that when I feel more well, I can pick it up again, and the people that are around me and my customers understand, and, you know, the people that I've got that I trust and that I love, they just fall straight back into place. And that's something that you don't get in employment. It just doesn't make sense.
No, it is that community and that connection. And like you said, it's about that, what's the word I'm looking for? The almost like a delayed gratification when you're going for the goal. I mean, what you said, like, you by your own kind of description there, you were not a huge PRV, but you'd said to yourself that month, right, I can do it. Didn't know how you were going to do it, but you were like, do you know what, I'm just going to go for it. And I think like you said, a lot of people, if they're not getting the results straight away, it's quite easy to quit, but you've got to have that, like, I know it's going to be worth it. Like, I know I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we put too much emphasis on our to-do list and we forget what we've done.
Yeah.
And I very often have a done list that I look at before I figure out what it is I've got to do, because it just helps me to stay level-headed about it and to stay in the mindset that actually no one's coming to save me. If I want this done, I know it's hard. There's no escape from hard. But this, like, I had this moment recently because I have just sort of started to emerge from a bit of a slump over the last couple of months, where I put a post up and I got a couple of orders. And I know it's not that easy because I've put several posts up where I haven't got those orders. But I put a post up and I got a couple of orders and I went, I've just earned some commission. Like, it's really quite transactional.
Yeah.
It can be quite transactional, but I think sometimes we get so bogged down in our expectations of ourselves, which are almost always, but very often so grandiose and so critical. Like, if you don't do this, then you don't deserve this. And if you don't do it this way, then it's not good enough. It's just absolute rubbish. It's just rubbish. It doesn't need to be that way. You can do it however you please. You can do it for as many hours as you want, but the outcome and the output will very much depend on the input. And as long as you can make peace with that, then it will keep chugging along, apparently for nearly 9 years.
I love that, honestly. I love that. Love it. Right. Okay. So are there any, and obviously you've just talked about the event there where Becky and Jackie and Lindsay were talking to you, but are there any particular trainings, whether that's like one that you've listened to online, one that's on YouTube, any trainings that you've listened to that have had like a really definitive impact on your business, how you work your business, how you perhaps get your PRV, how you sponsor, something that somebody could go to YouTube and go and listen to, whether that's like a Heidi Narville keynote or something from another consultant?
I think the Swing for the Fences keynote really just makes me blub like a baby. Yeah, that one's a good one. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it twice because you'll miss something the first time. There is something in a training around that period where I was like just completely flipped, like what I was going to do and how I was going to do it. And it was when the kind of more open-ended, more available training was emerging, and they used to be called aha moments.
Yeah.
And Anik Jerva did a training in her car at the airport, and she is brilliantly bonkers. Like,
who did? Sorry,
Anik Jerva.
Oh, Anik. Sorry. Yeah.
And she was talking about people who sort of protested or kind of rubbed up against her business a little bit or had something to say about it. And the words that just stick, that have really stayed with me, is like, get out of my way. It doesn't have to be obnoxious. It doesn't have to be aloof. Just with love, get out of my way. Move, because you're not paying my bills. I'm not responsible for you or to you. There is nothing that I need from you. If you're not going to stand with me, then please just move. But we need to take the responsibility to keep moving through it and not let that be the thing that helps, like, gives us the decision that we decide to quit, because those people, they're not paying your bills.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, sorry, I don't know if it went quiet, I couldn't hear you, but no, I love Anik. She's just such a unique character, isn't she? Like, she's just amazing. But it is, again, it's so true. It's like, it doesn't have to be in an aggressive or, ultimately nobody else gets to determine your life. Like, it is down to us. And unfortunately, far too many people do, it's a skill and it takes time, but far too many people do let the opinions of other people, stop them from moving forward. So that's that's really poignant. Thank you. Okay, what would be your biggest tip that you would give to somebody? It looks so scary. What would be your biggest tip when it comes to networking, when it comes to like building, you are 100% people person. So what would be your biggest tip when it comes to networking and like building relationships?
Okay, so this is a multifaceted question. I think we need to define what our definition of networking is before we realize that we're doing it, because we're always doing it every time you show your face. And if you are entering into a room or a conversation or a community in some way, it's down to the science. This is back to the stuff learning about your brain. So, you know, when you're maybe in a classroom setting, or you know teachers, and there's always this sort of one or two or maybe more children who are maybe a bit more raucous and a bit more rambunctious and a bit, you know, and all the children just seem to gravitate towards them. That's because of brainwaves, like literal physical science. The neurotransmitters are going, I'm the strongest presence in this room, come to me. So everybody goes straight to you, which is, and this is a lot to do with sort of neurodiversity training and teacher training around holding a space, you know, and that's something that I noticed, that when I go into a room, if I feel small or if I feel nervous, it really, I notice it in other people. So when I prepare to go into those situations, sometimes it takes a lot of work. And again, I'm not waxing lyrical about just be confident. What I'm saying is prepare yourself in a way where your brain waves are strong enough to hold a space, that you feel confident in yourself. Do whatever it takes. There are so many little flips and tricks, and it might be, you know, crack open your favorite perfume, even if it's just a weekday, or, you know, wear something that makes you feel really powerful, or change a wax at night so that in the morning you feel, you know, like just those little boosts that prepare you, so that when you enter into the room, your brain is going to be going, I'm here. Yeah. And again, it doesn't have to be in a big presence way, but just in a way where people know that you mean business. Yeah. And that's relevant to you. Like nobody else would know that, you know, you've put your favorite on or anything like that. No, I love that. Amazing. I love the science. I love to, like, the brain absolutely fascinates me. So I love that you know, you've got that knowledge. No, that's amazing. Okay. What was so 9 years ago, when you clicked that join button with Scentsy, why did you join Scentsy? Like, what was your why? What made you go? Were you a customer? Were you buying the product? Or did you join? Like, what was your why? What was your reason for joining? Sheer nosiness. I had never sniffed a wax bar. I'd never used it. I didn't know anyone else who used it. It was actually my sponsor's sister who did most of the heavy lifting for her, because she was the one posting about it the most. Right. And that was a real lesson for me, like, don't miss a trick. She was posting about it the most. And then by the time I sort of went, okay, well, I want this. And everybody was buying the etched core with the wraps at the time. Yeah. You know, they were like the pièce de résistance. So I was like, okay, so I buy that, and then I have to buy that to put in it. Then I have to, oh, hold on. By the time she posted to me, I'm like 70 quid down. So I might as well buy the kit. And again, you know, money at that point was not, I didn't have £80 to just throw around and have fun with. It was a real long process, excruciating for my sponsor. I can appreciate that. Like, come on, I can't find my passport. Okay, well, do you know where it is? Nah. Took me a week or so to finally click the button, and then when I got it, I was so overwhelmed by it. It sat in my hall for 2 weeks, and again, just that cynicism and that sort of like, you know, just sort of eyeballing it from afar, like, what's actually happening here? Oh, I'm going to get stung. This is going to happen. This bad thing's going to happen. This horrible thing, you know, all of this went through my head. And then I fortunately joined towards the end of the year, and I have quite a nice family network here. My in-laws, I've got quite a big family. People were, you know, keen and interested, and and they bought some stuff, and then that kind of ripple, you know, you want one, you need another one.
Yeah.
It's your cousin's birthday, get your cousin a one, you know, oh, there's someone at work is leaving, ta-da, here I am, you know, and it just sort of started from there. And at that point there was nobody in this town was doing Scentsy. And now I remember distinctly, I can't remember who it was, I think it was Lindsay, she's like the design board at Home Office. She was speaking in London, and she said, you know, in 10 years' time, home fragrance is going to be big business. And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't think so. It doesn't feel like it, you know, because there was just this constant drive. We were constantly explaining what it was, what it means, what it does. And now, you know, when you see someone selling a warmer marketplace, and some of my team get a bit like, oh, I just feel so grateful that we got there, that people are passing it around because they've had their joy out of it, or they've changed decor, or, you know, they've bought another one. And just those little moments where I see people at fairs, or, you know, just looking at people's, you know, your nose on Rightmove, don't you? And you see people have got warmers in their house, and I just feel calm, like we're all right.
Yeah. I love it. We'll be like walking along, and one of the kids will go, Mum, there's a car bar in that car, or that, you know.
Yeah.
So this, and I find myself looking when I'm driving, I'm like, they need a car bar. I need to. But no, it's like, obviously for yourself being in that amount of time, that must be really, because I imagine, well, I don't imagine, I'm trying to, obviously for people watching, like, when you started, sorry, this is going off on a bit of a tangent, but we didn't have all the product ranges, even for when I joined 6 years ago, like how they've evolved. So like, what were the product ranges like when you started? Like, what did you have to work with at the beginning?
I mean, there were some dodgy design requests, I tell you. There was some odd things. And in my starter kit, I actually got washer whiffs, but they were in like a bottle. I'm sure they're here somewhere. They'll be somewhere. I don't throw anything away. We had these washer whiffs. They were French lavender. So no. And I think that was, it was wax, warmers. I got a body cream, but I think it was kind of phasing out at the time. So it really had to, at that point, drilled down. The Grace Adele side of the business, the bags and accessories side of the business was still live when I joined as well. I didn't kind of.
For a side note, for anyone that doesn't know, Scentsy made bags for a while, didn't they?
Yeah, and cooking stuff. I don't think we ever got that. But
oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Velata. I don't think we ever got it in the UK, but yeah, you still see a lot of Velata talk on some of the regional.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, tangent central.
No, it's good though.
Yeah, so it was really basic, and some of it was really rubbish. But we got there, and we got through it. And I think for me there was like, because I have quite a I sort of buy from my heart. So I don't go, okay, I'm going to go to Next and I'm going to buy cushions and covers and blankets and trinkets that all match. Like, I love to see it, but I wouldn't choose it from my house. My house is like, I've got a picture on the wall I got for my 19th birthday. It's practically an antique. I've got something that I picked up in a car boot sale because I thought it was funny. You know, there's just like, there's no cohesion to my life. And I think that was another lesson that I learned about product offers. I will highlight things that I love, but I also do shove some things in there that I maybe don't rate so highly because, you know, it's not my decision what people choose to have.
Oh, 100%. Like, I think we can all, you know, probably admit that we're guilty at times to time, like we share what we love and what we use, but which is obviously that is going to come across, but there are going to be some things in there that just because we wouldn't buy them doesn't mean that somebody else wouldn't. So I think, yeah, that is really a really important point. So that was your why when you joined, because you were nosy. What's your why now? Like, what is your reason 9 years later for still being here, still showing up, still working your business, still supporting your team? Like, what is your why? Like, what keeps you a Scentsy consultant?
It's to do better. It's just to do better, to get better, to learn more about myself, to have the opportunity to do that among people who are better than me, and for me not to resent them for that, which I would have done 10 years ago, to really observe and learn and absorb what the work that other people are putting in, that it may not be a flat pack model of wellness or learning or growth that I can then, you know, just do, but there'll be elements of it. I think for me, my long-term plan is to be debt-free, which is has been a hugely contentious issue in my life over the last few years, and to, well, ideally is to build my own private practice, my own private alternative therapy practice, keep my, don't shoot me compliance, keep my Scentsy.
You're right, you're like, the safe space, you're right.
And just to continue to look for opportunities that make me happy, because I'm getting older, and I look for them much more actively than I used to, and I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's amazing. And the thing is, exactly like you just said, like, we're not one-dimensional. It's not that you are a Scentsy consultant and, you know, that is it. And it's you know, it's do you know, I've just realized I haven't open just open support tab. But it, as you evolve as a person, I will come back to the comments at the end, I promise. As you evolve as a person, and like you say, you grow, which in Scentsy helps you to do that, like to grow as a person and grow in confidence, and but it then does evolve into other things, and it you know, and that's amazing. So like you said, I love that you said that the reason that keeps you here is like the personal growth, because if you grow as a person, naturally your business will grow, because you'll be doing, you know, you'll be doing all the things to make it happen. Okay, so talking into, oh no, hang on, I missed one. What is one of your proudest moments in the last 9 years?
When a team member came to my door many years ago, and that's when it really started to shine a light on what was possible. A team member came to my door and told me that she just bought all this school uniform and didn't have to like worry about it. And it was, you know, I don't know, £100. £100 is a lot of money, especially when you don't have it. And sometimes we just don't think about those small acts that mean so much more to people that's readily available to them. I think there are lots of big moments, the promotions and the events, and the thing that really inspires me is seeing those changes in people's life where they can take part in a freedom that just wasn't available to them before.
Oh, honestly, and that is so poignant, and like you said, it is true. Like the big things are amazing, but it's the small things. It's the not having to go to Tesco and go in and like add everything up as you go around, or like you said, buying school shoes, or you know, those things. So I just think that's amazing that all these years later, that's obviously still so special in your heart that it's had that effect on you. But and you're right, it is. It's the little things, and it's when it becomes bigger than you, doesn't it? And you can, this is like a gift that you can offer to help somebody else. Okay, we've talked about personal development books. Personal development is so, some people read books, some people listen to audio, some people like podcasts, some people love music. Like, what is one of the best or most effective personal development things that you have listened to, read, watched over the last 9 years?
Miracle Morning has got to be the Miracle Morning. Just get up and do something, because that's where the magic happens. That's where it starts. And the Miracle Morning, there's a book. I do purchase an audiobook every month and then don't listen to it. And I have lots of books that I don't read, so I'm not going to pretend that I do that. But every so often I'll need something, so I can reach out to any of those places. Again, Podcasts are great. I drive quite a lot, so I listen to podcasts, you know, when I get the time. The Miracle Morning is a little bit more structured because I struggle to get started with things. And what I love about that is that it does, so there's elements of exercise, journaling, gratitude work, and development.
Yeah.
Drink your water, look after your body, look after your brain. And it's really quite light touch, but once you crack that open and start to feel the benefit from it, it can really sort you out and really keep you well enough to see more openly with a more grateful heart, like what's available to you, even when it's hard. I don't want to be sort of too fairy tale about it. Everything's hard. Everything has elements of hard in it. But the more prepared we are, the more robust we are, and the more that our foundations are deep and solid, the more likely that we are to just keep moving through it. So the Miracle Morning, I can't remember his name because I'm not that.
I read the Miracle Morning years ago. It is amazing. Like, I totally 100% agree with everything you just said. It's the guy sitting on the front of the plane, isn't it? On the book. Anyone that's in my team knows this, like, wholeheartedly agree. Like, funny enough, I had this conversation with Dan this morning because I do have quite a dialed in morning routine, and you are right. And some days, if you know your morning goes a little bit different, it might not always be 100%. However, you are so right. Like, sorry, there's a fly now. Gratitude, water, moving my body in some way, shape or form, and if I don't do it, my mind is just not quite, and it is, and it, like you said, it's not always going to be 100% on the money, but if you can do like 2 out of the 3, or, I love that that's what you said, because it's literally almost like engaging your brain and engaging yourself for the day ahead, isn't it? You get to run your day rather than your day running you.
And I think it goes back to that to-do list versus everybody's got a massive to-do list because work is never finished. Nothing's ever complete. There's always something else to think about or something you didn't get to. And the more that we can, and that's where the Miracle Morning for me really works, because it really sets out 5 things that you do. And even if you do just do 2 of them, you know that you've done something. It's like the old sort of adage around, make your bed in the morning.
Yeah.
Because you start your day with a task accomplished, and then you start to notice what you're capable of instead of what you haven't done, what's coming up, what you've not started, what's playing on your mind. And the more that you can, challenge that fear of the mountain, you've got good solid foundations, because you're capable. It's not a helpless space. You've got opportunity to make yourself or to support yourself to feel more well. And that, some of that stuff is just, I think, really broad overview was that he took all of the great leaders and all of the massive entrepreneurs and he studied what they did. And it's basically around gratitude, it's around exercise and journaling and all of the aspects. And he just basically condensed it into this really 1 hour. They talk about a 5:30 morning. I don't do it that 5:30 morning around here, but I do always try to do at least 1 or 2 of the things, and then at least I know I've done it, and I don't feel like a massive failure for the rest of the day, because then I'm just running to catch up. Just that kind of front and center, like, okay, I've done some journaling, or I've looked at some stuff that I'm grateful for. What's next?
What's next? Oh my God, literally, you're speaking to my soul, honestly, because as well, we live in a world where you're constantly like at someone else's beck and call or doing something else. Whereas if you do that first for yourself, I literally put my phone on the other side of the room and sit with, like you say, with my journal, and I go, right. And then like, I literally will go, right, in 20 minutes, like then I can pick it up, and then you've set yourself up, honestly. And there's actually a really good, I was talking to Emma London about this. There's a really good, if you're totally new to this, I've had loads of different gratitude journals, but there's one on Amazon that's literally £5, and I'll get it in a minute to show you. And I think it's actually one of my favorites that I've used, because like you said, it's really simple. It's just got little boxes. It's like, what am I grateful for? What a little bit of reflection from yesterday. And it's just, it is really, really, really powerful. I love that you said that. Okay. Aside from income, what is one thing that Scentsy has brought out, multiple things if you want to, but that Scentsy has brought into your life?
It's made me much braver to speak up. My brain doesn't operate very well sometimes, and it was always a source of embarrassment for me because I was too loud, or I spoke over people, or I say some inappropriate things sometimes. Honestly, it's wild. And I found that I would hide it, and it was stifling. And the more that I gained trust in the business and the people that started to surround me, the more I trusted myself to just show up with what I've got. And
with being authentically who you are.
Yeah, it's about again just giving me the opportunity to learn a bit more about myself, to realize that I do those things. And sometimes, you know, again, just coming from a life of like absolute just pain and turmoil and not very nice experiences, and being quietened and being, you know, criticized for just trying to exist. All of a sudden you exist and people like it, and it's weird. It's really hard to get used to, and it's really difficult to trust it. And once these people are in your life, you don't get rid of them. That McCallum, she's honestly, I think she's fantastic.
Oh, I love that. But it's the thing, isn't it, of like, you know, there's an audio that's been around, you know, saying about if you're too much, like, so what's too much, you know, should I be less? Well, actually, no, it's got nothing to do with anybody else. When you're too much in Scentsy, it's a good thing. Okay, so I'm sure you've got, over 9 years, you've got lots of funny stories, loads and loads and loads and loads. Have you got a funny story that you would like to share with us over your 9 years?
I never ever turned down the opportunity to tell anybody is when I arrived to a house party and the host and her daughter were having a full-on fist fight at the bottom of the stairs.
No,
that is my favourite Scentsy story ever. And you know, there's been some lovely times, and you know, I'm sorry for anyone that I left out, but I'll never forget turning up with my bags. And I could hear this commotion. I was thinking, oh, great, this is like a no. There was hair extensions flying. They were shouting and swearing at each other. And I just stood there, and her husband opened the door, and he's just like, come in. Do you mention it? Like, do you mention it? Like, I grew up in Bargady, and if you don't know Bargady, there's not a lot to know, but a fist fight in a house is no great shakes to me, you know, but I was just a bit like, I don't know what to do. Like, right.
So what did you do?
I just set up, and she came in. She was like, oh, she's a nightmare. She's leaving now. No, I'm not leaving. She insisted on staying through the whole thing. It was honestly the most painful party.
But so they'd had a rock, and then the daughter stayed?
Yeah, she was like, she's leaving. She basically kicked her out. She was about 16 or 17. She basically kicked her out, and the daughter was like, I'm not going anywhere, and stayed, and not only stayed, but insisted on like taking part whilst they were still like elbows out, like to lamp each other. And honestly, it's the most entertaining thing I've ever experienced. I just thought it was hilarious. Like, I was stood there thinking, who do I tip? What do I say? Like,
what do I say?
Yeah, and that was years ago. Like, that was, nobody's taught that yet. So that's like, you know, there's all lovely, beautiful, funny stories, but that one just for me is the one that comes to mind. Never underestimate what you can achieve at a party, because I thought it was a write-off straight away. I was like, I'll just go, and he was like, oh, just come in, they're always at it. And I was like,
Just having a row.
Okay.
Oh, that is that thing, isn't it? I think like with the human race, like nothing would shock me anymore. Like, I think when, especially when you're dealing with the public. Okay, so we're at our final question. So what is, if somebody was starting today, if you had a new team member starting today, what would be your like biggest, best piece of advice for being like starting their Scentsy journey?
get to grips with compliance. Because it's really boring. It sometimes feels a bit odd. But get to grips with compliance, because that is going to be the most solid foundation that you can build your business on. Once you've made friends with compliance, it is just put out the first version of whatever it is that you want to put out. Because again, no one's coming to save you. We can support and we can suggest and we can, you know, share, but you have to be prepared to put out your first versions of something, even if they're not as polished or as perfect or as beautiful as you might want them to be, or how someone else might do it. Put out your first version, because once you've done that, you've got something to build on. Otherwise, you're going to be waiting forever. The business is going to slip away from you and you're going to feel like it's the business's fault.
Yeah, 100%. The only way to learn is by doing, isn't it? Amazing. Amazing. Honestly, Faye, like I could literally sit and talk to you all night. It has been absolutely amazing. Just thank you so much. I'm just going to go to the comments. I'm actually going to put my glasses back on because I am an old lady now. See if I've got, or if anybody has got anything else they'd like to ask in the comments. Evening, hi everyone. Hello, Boon. Excited for your nonsense. Suffolk and Essex. You send very much. It'll be awesome if they could bring some more lines out, i.e. bath bombs again, and maybe something for hair or whatnot. I really struggle with me.
We did have something for hair. This
did.
This is my favourite hair product. Not that I'm any kind of hair model. I haven't had a haircut in 2 years because it makes my head feel funny. But when I do brush my hair, representing, man.
100%. I've used that on. I remember being on holiday once, and Ella went before we lost our other dog, and I was spraying her hair, and she was like, "Mum, it smells like Bailey." I was like, "Yeah, it's his detangling spray. Don't worry, it's fine. It's all natural." Time opened the support tab. It's been a pleasure. Please listen, and thanks, Laura, to run the catch the rest of the recording. Okay. But you have kept it real, and it's one of the trainings that has really caught me in the feels. Amazing training. Thanks so much. Really enjoyed listening to it. Love you, your wee jobby.
Disgusting.
Got my positivity gun out. Yeah, absolutely amazing. Right,
no,
dog.
do with that, don't you?
Here's your hairpiece. I think that was in reference to the girls, fighting. Right, okay. I am gonna wrap this up with I love it. Like we've kept it within the hour. Honestly, thank you so much. Are you going to SFR?
Yes. I, again, just that, like, not really feeling it at the moment. I don't feel very well. I'm really overwhelmed. I booked a hotel straight away because I'm a cheapskate and I like to get things as cheap as possible, but you do it on booking.com, don't you? So you can cancel it if you need to. And then when it came to the end of being able to book my ticket, I was like, you know, we've had 3 really weird years, really isolated. The business has changed dramatically. We need to be there. So my absolute best piece of advice, if there's ever anything that you want to do, is make this business pay for it. So at the moment, I'm in the process of trying to pay for something quite big. And every now and again, if my business has a little bit of a lull, I'll make a conscious decision to earn 200 PRV, because that then goes straight towards that. It doesn't just be absorbed in my commission. It doesn't get, you know, so if you are intending to come to SF, I'm assuming they'll have walk-ins. I haven't heard anything otherwise. Is just make a conscious decision that your business pays for it, because that's, you know, that's what it's there for.
100%. Like that, make it your goal, and then obviously that time, are you going to be there? Were you in London last year? I did see you then. What am I talking about? Honestly, I've slept since then. Sorry. But obviously SFR is very different to like an incentive trip where you can spend downtime together, and SFR is very like,
I
always remember Joe Davidson saying to me, it's like sticking your finger in the Scentsy socket. And until we went to Amsterdam, I hadn't really experienced that. That was amazing, that one. They're all amazing, but that was that was amazing. How I did that with a 6-month, I didn't actually see my 6-month-old really. Everyone else just took him, didn't they? It was just like, oh, it's a baby, give him to me. Amazing. So you will be at SFR. I can't wait to see you. And you are totally right. Like if there's ever anything to move your business forward, to like, it's that connection, like get to an event and just be around the community. Like there is literally like nothing like it. Okay.
If they release Parma Violets, what would your first reaction be? You'd hear a big thud. You'd hear a hell of a thud. You'd hear it in Glasgow, I can assure you. I would faint and possibly die for 3 to 5 minutes.
Every time I see or eat Parma Violets, you always come to my mind.
Just need them. I know they've dabbled, but they're not quite getting it. They need to come to me directly and I'll let them know.
Let them know how to do it. Honestly, Fee, it's been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here, guys, as well. I will share the recording tomorrow, or maybe in a little while, because I'm getting on an aeroplane tomorrow. So yeah, have a wonderful rest of your evening, and thank you so much. And I cannot wait to see you in Manchester.
Likewise, thank you.
Thank you. See you later. Bye.